I am Brett Curry, lead strategist here at Classy Llama. And our mission with the Llama Commerce Show is to demystify e-commerce into actionable bites. Today, I am so excited about our guest. I'm loving our topic. I think there's going to be some really good stuff, some actual bites that you guys can grab onto and really put to use. We do have our good friend, the one-arm table tennis trophy, who will be awarded at the end of the show. The thing we're missing, though, and I'm a little bit concerned. Actually, I'm scared on most shows because of my co-host. I think those that are regulars will know what I'm talking about. But I don't know where Kurt is right now, and that does have me a little bit concerned. Oh, my gosh! What are you? What is this?
I'm a mix between a llama and a rabid rabbit.
Llama and a rabbit. So those of you that watched a few weeks ago, you guys experienced Phil. I still have nightmares about Phil, but I think I will definitely have nightmares about that guy.
Look at this. Look at this thing.
There's actually a great story. For those of you that are listening to the podcast, Kurt just had on a mask that looked like a crazy jackalope.
Yeah, the jackalope. That's actually
the jackalope. That's what it looks like. So you have to watch the video if you're listening to the podcast. Anyway. But Kurt, tell the really quick story about that.
All right,
head
funny story about this super scary.
And then we'll introduce our awesome guest.
Who
looks like a pirate
Will.
Right now.
Yeah, that's kind of But anyway, there's crazy stuff happening on the show today. That was actually going to be an actual get-up with a llama with a tuxedo that walked around with a martini glass at the Internet Retailer Conference.
Yep.
So we subcontracted with this really reputable company to build a custom mask for us. And so somehow they thought that
was their llama.
It's a llama.
Small children would run and hide, and it's.
I told Will though that I was going to torpedo the show, and then obviously he got into the action.
He didn't. Not only did it not scare him away, but he was like, "Dude, I'm in. I'm in on this." He's like, "I love the torpedo aspect." So we have Will Harris, the senior VP of Marketing and Growth from DollarHobbyz. DollarHobbyz is one of our clients, one of our friends. We love these guys, and Will also doubles as a pirate, obviously. Apparently. So Will, welcome to the show. Welcome, AJ.
Thanks, guys. Excited to be here.
Yeah.
I can't take you seriously when you look like a pirate.
Oh man.
I've been a fan of the show now pretty much ever since I saw your first episode, maybe 4 hours ago. So.
Will said that he is now our 101st Twitter follower. So the pressure of fame just weighs down on you a little bit.
We try to stay humble.
We're probably going to have a whole episode just about like how to handle a mantle of fame.
What happens when your Twitter account blows up with 100?
Right, there you go.
Hey, there's Will. Now we know what he really looks like.
That's the real Will. So
real deal.
Maybe those of you out there have heard of Will or read some of his fantastic content. The topic of today is content marketing. Now, we want to hear the story of DollarHobbyz, want to hear the story of Will because there's good lessons in there as well. But maybe you've read some of Will's pieces. He's got a great piece on the SEO food pyramid, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And second most popular article on Search Engine Journal, I believe it was last month. Big deal. So kudos to you, Will, on that. But before we dive into the details of our topic, can you lay out what is DollarHobbyz? Because we occasionally, we're a group of developers and marketers, and so we like your products a lot. But what is DollarHobbyz? How did the company start? Just give us a little bit of the background.
Essentially, we're an RC shop, drones, RC cars, things like Traxxas, Axel, different brands like that. Where we fit into the niche is we sell more of the kitted products. So instead of having to buy each individual piece for a transmission and you're looking at 20 pieces or something, we'll sell the whole transmission. So if you're kind of looking to jump back into a race and you just need to drop the transmission back in, you can do that a lot easier. And then we've also, because of a lot of the different systems that we've set up, we're able to offer prices that are, we on our website we say up to 95% off. They really are. There are some that are up to 95% off, some even a little bit more, but basically we found a way that we can offer more of what you need at less money, which is kind of a fun thing, especially if you're doing this on a daily basis. You're breaking parts a lot.
Wow, transmission. These sound like some pretty intense RC.
These are remote control. These are legit.
I've never had an RC anything with a transmission. Let's just put it like that.
Probably have. Not a transmission that you would drop in, though. Maybe.
No,
like
actually, Nucleus worked with DollarHobbyz to supply all of those awesome RC drones at our party at Imagine.
Very hot, very popular.
Everyone, oh man, it blew people's minds. It was awesome. So thank you so much for doing that. That was wicked awesome.
But I love the videos that you guys have of the remote control car trucks, plowing the snow up there in Minnesota.
I think I've seen one of those.
Ramping. Yeah. So these are real legit RC cars. And so if you're racing those things, if you're using them for racing, you're going to need replacement parts. That's where DollarHobbyz comes in. And great site, great service, all around. It's really cool.
So what about Will, though? Like, Will, how did you get so smart? What's your background?
Well, I guess, believe it or not, up to about 8 years, I was a nurse. And I switched from nursing into marketing a year and a half ago or so. And it was one of those right place, right times. I had a degree in marketing, just hadn't found the right position to kind of jump into with it. And I basically had a similar interest and was developing a similar program to something that had already been developed that I wasn't aware of called When I Work. So I met with him looking at using his API. And he kind of looked at my resume and he was like, actually, we're getting some VC funding here pretty soon. We're going to need somebody to run marketing. I see you've got marketing. Do you want to jump on board and do our marketing? I was like, well, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a lot of fun. So it was kind of just thrown into it. First 7 months were an absolute wild ride of learning on the job, actually never even hearing the word like different acronyms like CRO. Marketers love acronyms, right? We have an acronym for absolutely everything.
Makes us feel smart.
Yeah, absolutely, because we can say things and nobody else knows what we're talking about. But so it was one of those things where first 7 months were just learn trial by fire kind of thing. And Chad Halverson actually was the CEO, and I learned a lot from him because he had run a digital agency before, but he was also super busy at the time. So we just kind of experimented and grew at an exceptional rate. I want to say those first 7 months we grew about 270% revenues. So wow. Yeah, so that was exceptional. And then we brought in basically a digital marketing expert from Silicon Valley. His name was Sujan Patel. And I kind of got to study one-on-one with him for the next 5 months or so, learning all the ins and outs of things that he's doing, the different tricks, the different tools that are making things a lot more efficient. And that just kind of excelled what we were doing. So.
Wow.
So when did you really fall in love with SEO and content marketing and all of the pieces that make up digital marketing?
Yeah, I think the thing that I liked the most about it that draws me to it is I like numbers. I memorized pi out to 59 digits on my way to work one time. Like that's something that I appreciate. But you can apply that.
That's really dorky, by the way.
Yeah, but 59 digits. I think I memorized it like 10 digits, and it took me like 6 days. So you said you did that on your way to work. You're a real nerd.
No, I am a complete nerd, and I won't deny that. And so it was one of those things where it looked at how you can apply it for marketing. What's great about SEO and things like that is very algorithmic. You can start finding ways that you can take different concepts and put them together. And if you outthink the competition, you can excel exponentially versus just, you out-hustle them and you can maybe beat them by a point or two. You can actually do a lot more damage. So I think the thing that really started doing it for me was when I had a couple of these small wins, maybe some Facebook ads that just crushed what we were doing before and dropped our cost per acquisition to a fifth of what it was. Things like that I was like, oh, wow. This was just from a little bit of word changes that made sense to our market or by a different pricing strategy or things like that. That's kind of what hooked me, the idea of I like winning. So it was very easy to start seeing how you could win very easily with things.
I actually don't think I would like to compete with Will. He actually sounds kind of violent. I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk so violently about SEO and content marketing. It's like crush. And like normally we'll outperform the competition. No, I don't even know what you said, but I just know that it made me very happy not to be.
Yeah, something about them going home crying to their mamas or something like that.
Right.
So, what's so true about digital marketing now is it's really the layering of a lot of little things, doing a lot of little things right. You mentioned changing the wording on a Facebook ad and lowering the cost per acquisition by a fifth or whatever. Let's talk about content marketing as it relates to SEO. And this is one of those little pieces I think that really has become SEO in some ways. How do you approach content marketing now? And maybe if you want to walk through how you approached it at your previous job and how you approach it now, how do you look at content marketing?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with you that content marketing is SEO. It's obviously not completely SEO, but that is kind of where I'd say the bulk of focus should be on in regards to SEO. There's a lot of like old school tactics. You can still use a little bit link building and things like that. Broken link building is still valuable, but it's boring and annoying. But there are a lot of other things that you can do that are still important. Even, I don't know if you mentioned the SEO food pyramid, the architecture of the site is still incredibly important, because if you don't have it set up right, everything else is going to fall apart. But when it comes to what Google wants to move towards and what I think is valuable, there's a lot of talk about being around the user. So it's not keyword stuffing anymore, because that's not user-friendly, right? Mobile, we saw the mobile getting happen. Google's looking at what is user-friendly and what people are engaging with, rather than are you writing for Google or are you writing for people? So with content marketing, basically that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to write for people. If you're just putting up pages of junk simply because you want to stuff keywords or more pages and things like that, those metrics are falling away from being what's valued to Google. What Google's starting to look at is time on page, or how long are people reading it? Are they sharing it? Are they coming back? Those engagement metrics that says people, genuine people, are finding this valuable.
Even scroll rate and things like that. Google's looking at lots of engagement factors for sure.
I know that Rand Fishkin at Moz, just at the Moz Con or whatever it's called, just this past week, he was saying you have to write for both, was like his primary thing. There's no doubt that Google is constantly trying to figure out how can we make it more where you can just write for people and it works. You know, that's their objective and what they're doing. So certainly if you're going to err on that side, you know, err on the side of serving the users.
Writing for people.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd say that that's future-proofing your SEO. That's kind of one of the things that I'd say. Link building, even black hat link building, it still works. There's people who you know, have commented on the SEO food pyramid and said, oh, well, I still use all these link building techniques. That's fine. There are still some ways that it works, but I kind of look at link building like this. If let's say that the person you distrust the absolute most told you that I was a credible person, you're going to automatically distrust me. And it's the same thing with bad links, right? Google is going to say, well, you're getting a lot of bad links, so I distrust you because of the links that you're getting, versus good links. So when I talk about future-proofing, if you are going towards what Google is going towards, which is designing for the end user, designing for the person, you're going to be in sync. So when they update their algorithm, you're not going to get slammed. You've been building the correct way all along.
Well, it's actually very much like hacking. You know, the black hat approach is like the good guys are out there trying to shut the hackers down, and the hackers keep on hacking. Well, eventually the hackers get found out and their work becomes useless, and that's the same thing with black hat SEO.
Absolutely. It's always going to be a short season, short window of opportunity.
Yeah,
for sure. So here's what I find so fascinating, Will, and I think this could be instructive to our viewers and listeners. Is that, you know, content marketing is not a new concept, obviously. Right. For a lot of merchants, it's a very painful topic, I think. You know, this drudgery of, I have to create content, and I would rather do anything but create content. What you've done, I think, has been unique in that the content you create is not just about RC parts, as an example. Because you've got some real credibility around SEO and around digital marketing, you're writing for some big players, I think Forbes and Search Engine Journal and all these other places. And you're doing that for the community, and you're doing that for the user, but there's also some benefit to DollarHobbyz as you're doing that, which is kind of interesting. So talk through that in was that a conscious thought, or did that just happen because you like to write about digital marketing, or how did you come about to creating that kind of content for DollarHobbyz?
Sure. So it's probably twofold. Part of it is simply because I like to write, but also because it challenges me to think outside of the box in marketing. Because I got to come up with something to write. So what am I going to write about? I need to have something that I can. Hold on 1 second.
Nice.
Just a second.
Nathan?
Oh my goodness.
He totally went up to you.
They torpedoed the show.
Yeah, I came prepared.
Guns and flying things.
Flying quadcopter. Yeah, those on the podcast. quadcopter. Will turned around with a Nerf gun and shot it out of the air.
Oh my gosh.
This is awesome.
Good competition.
We're going to have like 103 Twitter followers.
Nice. Nice. My mom already just followed right now. No, so some of it is just the idea that if I'm writing for something, I have to come up with something to write. And if I have to come up with something to write, ideally I need to do something that's going to be worthwhile writing about. So part of it is just getting my mind in that transition of testing things and figuring things out. The other part of it is kind of like what you said. It's the idea of content marketing outside of our blog. So we've started the blog, and there's things like that we're doing to scale that up. But like you said, from a link building strategy, it's not necessarily the best strategy for most people to use. But where we were at from a domain authority standpoint, if you use Moz, we were pretty low on the totem pole. We were getting maybe 4 links a month, and they were from websites with domain authorities of like 20. So it really wasn't going to be boosting us up to where we wanted to be competing with a lot of other people. So being able to get even a handful of quality links from domain authority websites of 87 or 90, they're going to help us out a little bit. Now, long term, again, if you're talking about future proofing, it's not the best technique because, one, if I try to fit a link into every single article I write, Google's going to catch on to that. Google's smart enough to know that, so it's not going to give the value to it. 2, my readers are going to be disinterested because every single thing I write about is DollarHobbyz, unless it's education about what we did and how we did it. But then also, you're missing out on that relevancy of the link too.
Yes.
So, and that is important. And again, Google looks at that and says, how relevant is the traffic that's coming from this, and the links and the keywords that are leading to that. So it's not ideal, but it was a way for us to make a couple of quick wins. And actually, with it, we were able to jump in 2 months of doing that. We were going from 4 links to I think we were up to about 25 links 2 months later in that month, and our domain authority jumped 6 points. That was enough to put us in front of even some of the manufacturers for different parts, like Traxxas JATO transmission. We were showing up #1, even above Traxxas.
Yeah, which is really significant, and so I think the thing to take away there is, someone shouldn't be sitting at home and saying, okay, well, I should learn digital marketing then and write like Will does for digital marketing blogs. But I think the idea is look for those relevant places to link to, forums and blogs around your space and around your industry, and how can you provide valuable content that people will link back to. But if you have other opportunities, if you're an expert in some other field that is maybe not perfectly related, but it's still legitimate and adds value, then do what Will did and think outside the box and write content that could still serve a purpose, even if it's not the traditional model.
Right. So we still write for a lot of other relevant websites, but if you look at our industry, the RC industry as a whole, there's not a ton of like high domain authority websites in the RC industry. And after you've got onto about maybe 5 of them, they just drop off and there's nothing. So to continue to get a lot of different high quality links and more unique linking domains, we had to branch out from what our core focus was. And again, if you're looking at this as a holistic strategy, it's still okay. If you're looking at that as your only strategy, you're going to fall.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as you look at content marketing, what types of content marketing would you recommend? I know we have certain types that we recommend, but what's on your top 10 list of content types to create? Sure.
One of my favorites are the how-tos, just because they're super helpful to people who are actually looking at doing what you're doing. So a lot of these are like how we used Facebook ads to grow 500% in a month or something like that. They're things that are actionable, bite-sized, very technical information that somebody can read and duplicate for their own business. So I think I really appreciate those, and those are the ones that challenge me the most as a marketer, because I have to actually figure out what I'm doing and make that win. The other ones that I really like are roundup posts.
Hey, you're back. Sorry, you were just frozen. Moment of pensiveness.
Mid
like a statue of thought.
Nice.
It's like Will the Thinker.
I don't know where I froze up at, but the other ones that I really like are roundup posts, where you kind of round up a few good quality tools or industry leaders, and a lot of times we kind of call those like ego bait articles. It's just to be able to kind of broaden your horizon there a little bit, broaden your reach. So that way, for instance, the one that I did on Search Engine Journal, 23 experts weigh in on what the last SEO tool on earth would be. It's very interesting to see what their choices are, including Brett. But
yes,
but what's cool about that is it gives me the ability to reach out to all of these other SEO leaders, and now they're aware of me, and so I'm starting this dialogue a little bit back and forth with them, right? And they shares with their network. The other one that I'm probably my third favorite then is the Skyscraper Technique. You find an article that did really, really, really well about email or whatever it is that you want to do, and then just do it better. Add better graphics, more up-to-date, better outline, better structure, and then you find other people that linked to that article and see if you can get them to link to your article. Or the people who shared it. I use BuzzSumo a lot to find out who those influencers are. Have them share that as well. You know that they're interested in it, so you're basically taking something and just making it better.
That's just dirty. That is just dirty. Is that black hat? Is that considered black hat?
No, that's just smart. That's gloves off, baby. That's yeah, no, that's really good, and that's very smart.
And plus, you make friends with all those 23 people, and you make them feel like super awesome whenever you quote them. Like Brett can't stop talking about it. He's like,
I tell everybody
I got quoted. Can you believe that?
Search
you quoted
engine
me.
journal, baby.
And so basically, Will, you can tell Brett to do anything you want. He'll connect you whatever you want him to now. You're like, he's in the cup of your hand.
Totally.
Nice.
And those other 22 experts, I mean, they're, not as important, but probably some
less important, sure, obviously. No, and that's the truth, though. So doing some of these articles has led to other opportunities of people asking me for quotes, which in turn is another link. Again, how relevant is that link to DollarHobbyz? It's not the most relevant, but it's still helping. It's still a part of the overall game plan, right?
So as I listen to you, the depths of your nerdiness and the extremities of your tendency towards, aggression, I wonder, like, okay, so I'm a merchant that doesn't possess these amazing traits that you have for this particular task, and so I wonder, like, how do you sink your teeth into it? Like, how do you start with content marketing? Where do you begin? What, do you start with like the framework for what reporting you're going to be engaging with and how you need to be, identifying your authority score and things like that? Or do you just jump into producing some content? Like, how do you start?
Yeah, so I think you have to start by just writing. You get better at anything by practicing, and so if you want to get better at writing, you have to practice writing. So starting your own blog and just writing a couple of articles and read a few. The ones that I really appreciate actually is Buffer. They have some just really well-constructed articles. So if you read kind of a little bit about what they're doing and model a couple of blog posts after them, it'll start to click and you'll feel better about what you're doing. The other side to that is everybody is an expert at something, or they appreciate something. So for instance, Kurt, you're a CEO. There's a lot of other busy CEOs who like to know about what tools you're using to manage being in charge of an agency, or some of the complications you came up with maybe having to hire somebody or fire somebody. So there's things that you can talk about, even though it might not be relevant to your core business. Just get in the habit of writing what you're good at writing, and then you can branch out to things that maybe make a little bit more sense or more relevance to what you do as a core business.
I love that, and I think if you start with the how-to concept, what are some really important questions that you know the answers to, or areas that are burning hot topics that you can address from a how-to perspective? That's a great place to start.
Right. Actually, even my first official post was for the Optimizely blog before I even had my own blog, and more or less I just reached out to them and said, hey, we grew 40% after doing one A/B test with you guys. Can I write about it? And they were like, sure. So I just took screenshots of what we did, and I just said, here's what our problem was, here's what we did, here's how it ended up. And that was my first post. But it was enough to kind of just get me into things. And obviously I knew how to talk about what I just did.
That's awesome.
How much of it is about like relationships? Like as you're building out the content, of course you need others linking to it. Is that something that happens naturally, or do you find that you're actually reaching out and building relationships with others to link to it?
Yep, I think it's both. You have to have good content. You have to have a good product, no matter what it is. If you promote crap, it's not going to work out the way that you want it to. But you also have to realize that just because you write it doesn't mean that like a flood of people are going to all of a sudden find you and become your fans. You have to start with promotion, and that's a tactic that's older than digital marketing. That's since caveman times, I guess, promotion to some degree. But a couple of the tools that I use that are really beneficial for that are one, BuzzSumo, to kind of find out who's talking about SEO or digital marketing or things like that. And the other one is called contentmarketer.io. It's actually newer. It was just released.
Love that. Awesome.
Yeah, really, really fun. So for instance, if you do a roundup post, like my SEO food pyramid, I've mentioned maybe, I don't know, 50 different people in that post. Well, all I have to do on contentmarketer.io is plug in the URL of that post, and it gives me all of the Twitter handles of the people that are mentioned, their email addresses and everything. I can type in a nice message that says, hey, I just sent you some love on this post. I'd appreciate some shares. Send it out, and it sends it out to everybody for me. So what would normally take
cool.
hours of promotion time, you can do in
hours.
minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about BuzzSumo, and we only have a few minutes left on the show, but BuzzSumo, a great tool. What are some ways you use that tool?
My two favorite things on BuzzSumo are, one, using it to find out who the influencers are, kind of like we talked about. You can just type in a keyword and find out who's talking about those things. I should say actually three things I love about it. The other thing that I really appreciate about it is typing in, let's say that I'm going to write for a search engine journal, and I want to know what are the posts that are doing the best on there. What are their readers engaging with the most? You can actually type that in, and it will show you all searchenginejournal.com, and it will show you the top shared posts and where it was shared, whether it was LinkedIn or Pinterest or whatever. So you know, okay, this is where this audience is sharing. And then you can take that and say, okay, it was a post about analytics or something. Well, I'm going to write a post that's better than that post about analytics. So again, figuring out ways that I can write to that audience. And then my third favorite thing is I like that better than Google Alerts. You can actually set it up so that way anytime you're getting mentioned or a link back comes to you, you can see that in BuzzSumo as well. And it's just very helpful to kind of track them as they come in and see how many shares they've gotten, even outside of your site.
You know, these tools just seem unfair. I'm trying to decide whether they're more clever or dirty. It's like the Trojan horse, you know, like going in. Yeah. It's like, was that more clever or dirty of Odysseus? You know, that's what I want to know. That's my question for this show.
See, and so with all with the tools and with Will's attitude, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And Kurt's like, is that wrong?
No, so actually, I do have a question though. So let's say you're into content marketing, you're working with it, you know it's an important part of the business. And a lot of the merchants that I talk to are kind of in this position. They're running the wheels of content marketing, but how do you know that it's making the impact that you want it to make? How do you measure that? You know, as you're getting into it, even progress before you see it lifting the revenue needle. You know, what's the path to measure the effects?
Yeah, and that is one of the things that people struggle with a lot. Even we struggle with it too. Just figuring out what is the best way to measure it. And I don't think there's one way to measure it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of posts that talk about different stats that you can look at, but it's holistic. So you have to look at it as holistic in nature and how you're going to track it. So, for instance, if I'm writing a how-to post, I want a lot of relevant traffic just coming to it. I don't care necessarily if it got a lot of links or necessarily. I'm writing that one because I want people to engage with it. So I want them asking me questions, things like that. So I'm going to look at comments. But if I'm writing an ego bait post or whatever, or a roundup post, I want to see that it got shared a ton, so it broadened out my network. Versus if I wrote a Skyscraper Technique post, I want to see that it got a lot of link backs. I want to see that I was able to reach out and get those link backs that I have. So I think it depends on what your goal is and where you're writing. If you have great SEO already, and a lot of links, but you don't have a lot of social signals going on, then maybe you want to focus on those metrics and how are you using it from that standpoint, or vice versa, depending on what your particular goal is.
I got a favor to ask, Will. Would you be willing to just jot down like your big buckets of like the metrics that you look at? Because like you just went through some things, and I'm starting to see this algorithm build. It's like I've got reach, I've got like authority from the link backs, I've got engagement. You know, how many of those things are there? And obviously these things all work together, like you said, holistically to produce lift in the business.
Right.
I like thinking about things like conceptually and understanding all the different, pieces that come together to make it happen. It would be amazing if you could just, build that for us and we could see it. Even if it's just a bulleted list that you spend like 3 seconds doing, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Like right now?
No, not on the show. After the show.
I gotta go grab a pen or something. I have like a phobia against paper and pens and stuff like that, right?
Oh yeah, you don't even have to write it on paper. You could literally just email it if you wanted to, or you could tweet it if it's short enough.
Send me your pager number and I'll fax it to you.
Wow. Thanks.
Beautiful. Hey, really quickly before we get into actual bites, Will, is there anything that you're super excited about right now at Dollar Hobbyz? Anything that we need to be on the lookout for, or anything that would be instructive to our viewers and listeners? What's going on at Dollar Hobbyz?
Yeah, I mean, probably the thing that's the most exciting to us is our product expansion. Right now we have about 3,500 SKUs. Ideally, by the end of the year, I'm pushing to get us to about 10,000. So significantly more parts, all for those same low discounts. And a lot of those will include even some more aftermarket parts and some factory retail parts. So there's a lot more coming. That's what I'm excited about, I guess.
Wow. And he did say up to 95% or more in discounts, which basically means they're free, people.
No, there are some that we've actually given away for ridiculous amounts, like pennies.
That's awesome.
It's basically free.
Basically
Dollar
free.
Hobbyz is basically sells his stuff for free.
Yeah, quoted.
So, okay, actual bites. Here we go.
Actual bites.
Man,
I
you
love.
know how enthusiastic I am about SEO, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
see,
it's my
this is
favorite ever.
that's why I disguise this as content marketing.
Oh my gosh, you got me on the show. That's how it happened. But
No, this is content marketing. But I think so. The actual bite that I'm going to throw out there, and Will, you mentioned it, was just get started. Just start writing stuff, and start with a how-to piece or a couple of how-to pieces. So just get started. That's the hardest part, I think, and then.
I don't agree with that. That's not the hardest part, because I great. I get started writing something. I get disappointed. It's like, is this doing anything? Am I
how to stay motivated?
You know, it's like the Llama Commerce Show. Actually, it's like we just keep doing this thing every week and just like uttering stuff out into the ecosystem,
into the ether.
Into the ether. That's actually better. Who knows if it's in the And I'm so discouraged, Brett. I'm so discouraged about this show. Like, is it doing any good? Is it reaching anybody? I have no idea.
Well, we're going to schedule a counseling session with you.
No, but I will say, actionable bite on that is you got to have something that measures your progress to
keep you engaged.
While you're putting it out there, have something that's measuring your progress. We're going to get some great content from Will, because right after this show, he's going to get a pen and a piece of paper. He's going to write it all down, and then he's going to fax me that.
Awesome. So, Will, any actual bites that you would add to that? And this has been fantastic.
Actual bites that I would add to it, man, I think you hit it. It's just get started. I don't have anything else beyond that other than just do it. I remember when I first wrote that post, for instance, the SEO food pyramid, and I wasn't ready to promote it yet because I was like, oh, my website's not quite done yet or whatever. And actually, Sujin was the one who first shared it. He just shared it out on Twitter. The next thing I know, like a week later, there's 1,000 shares of it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm in it now. You know, the cat's out of the bag. I'm writing, kind of thing. So just do it, and don't worry about being perfect. Just get it out there and start practicing.
I have something. I have another actionable bite.
Yes.
If you're as unenthusiastic about the whole SEO game as I am, you need to find someone who is as nerdy as Will, and who is as, aggressive and dangerous.
Maybe then you think about it from
the
the relationship part. Then it's about building these relationships and getting shares and some of those things. You don't care about that either, do you?
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, you just go out and find someone, because, man, if this is all about investing and focusing on the things that you're good at. I know there's a lot of merchants out there that if they started doing this, they'd just get owned by it. They'd hate themselves and their lives and everything about their business.
And it's spin their wheels.
So absolutely
good stuff though. Hey, check Will out. Will, how can people follow you? Obviously, if you type in William Harris, you'll find a lot of historical people. I found. But if you type in William Harris SEO, you'll find. You need
to work on the SEO for your name. Is what's going on.
So you know how hard that is? I used to live on the same block as another William Harris. There are so many of us. I have Google Alerts set up for my name, and every day I get an email pretty much of somebody getting arrested. And I was like, it's impossible to compete with that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Otherwise,
How can we find you on Twitter and your website and stuff?
Yeah, on Twitter I'm WM. HARRIS 101, William Harris 101. So,
which you were the 101st follower of the Llama Commerce Show. Oh my gosh, there are layers here.
Whoa, that
also,
is deep.
I just thought of something. We could totally plug like what you do. I just said, if you don't want to do it, you got to hire someone smart. Brett's nerdy and he's kind of violent. Yeah. And so you could hire him, and he could do it for you. You could pay him money.
Llama.
That'd be amazing. Maybe we'll make some money doing the show.
Will and I on our calls, we have calls every other week now. We'll talk paid search and stuff. We definitely nerd out on those calls. I think the other people that are on the calls are like, okay, wrap it up.
I'm really glad that you don't invite me to those.
Hey, Brett, did you see my new pocket protector?
Yes, I did. Oh, good
Awesome.
stuff. All right. Well, hey, time to award Odd, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's either you or William.
No, we
What have I
got to
done
totally
on
give
this
it.
show?
Totally give it
What have
to
I
Will.
done?
Will, Odd is now yours. Tell Brad and Richard that you won a major award today, and they will be happy.
And you know, if anyone gets sick or like falls over bleeding in William's office, he'll take care of them too. Like he's so multifaceted. He's a multi-dimensional guy.
He's a nurse too.
And your competition, he'll hurt you and then he'll heal you up.
He's compassionate.
All right, folks. Hey, you can follow us on Twitter. You know, the 101 others. Join the ranks. I mean, it's just a deluge of new followers.
It's a movement.
Follow us on Google Plus if anybody actually does that ever. I've never heard of Google Plus really. And we're probably elsewhere, aren't we?
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
We're all over the place. YouTube, of course, all
Check it
over.
out,
So
subscribe
we're
there.
just all over the interwebs, and you can
All
find
over
us
the
on
internet.
there. So
Yes.
ask us questions. I don't know if we've ever been asked a single question.
So we have.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to interview other people in the future, and it's going to be great. Maybe not as great as William
You set
Harris.
the bar high,
but,
man. You set the bar high.
We're going to keep doing this for as long as we can manage to handle it without any ROI.
So, Will, hey, man, thanks. That was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. And for everyone else,
Stay
stay
classy.
classy.